Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the Soldier Support Institute and the Adjutant General Corps Hall of Fame induction ceremony. We're so grateful that you have taken time to make this ceremony a truly special event. I'm Mr. Dave Smoot, and I'm honored to serve as your Master of Ceremonies this morning. Just for your situational awareness, we are recording and live streaming this ceremony. This time, please stand for the playing of the National Anthem and remain standing for the invocation by Chaplain Jeff Robertson.
Greetings to you all. I invite you to pray with me. Almighty Lord, thank you for this new day filled with hope and promise, and for granting us the opportunity to gather with family, friends, and fellow soldiers to witness and participate in the time-honored induction ceremony of the Adjutant General Corps Hall of Fame. May the inductees of Class 2021 honored here today be filled with peace, contentment, and a quiet assurance that their efforts and dedication to their profession will leave a lasting legacy across the AG Corps. Father, let your hand of grace rest upon each one of them. As they have given to others, let blessings likewise be added to them. In good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, as we are admonished in the Gospel of Luke. Lord, thank you for bestowing upon them dynamic energy, intellectual dexterity, and a selfless approach to the execution of their duties over the years. Thank you, Father, for making them technical experts skilled in problem solving, innovators desirous of continually honing their craft, and trusted leaders who embrace Army traditions while looking to the future. Help us to emulate their ethic, that we too might be selfless, eager to help others, and supportive of the Corps. Therefore, as St. Paul declares in Galatians, let us not grow weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. Now, Lord, let what is said, done, and thought here today be pleasing to you and edify all present. All these things I pray in your most excellent name. Amen.
Please be seated. I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize the official party. Seated on the stage are Colonel Marcus Motley, Chief of the Adjutant General Corps and Commandant of the Adjutant General School. Chief Warrant Officer Mark Hickman, Adjutant General Corps and School Chief Warrant Officer. And Command Sergeant Major Robert Atkinson, Adjutant General Corps and School Command Sergeant Major. The Adjutant General Corps has existed since June 1775. The regiment was founded in the summer of 1987. The following comments were taken from the Soldier Support Advocate magazine, the July-September 1987 edition. On June 17, 1987, the 212th anniversary of the Adjutant General Corps, the Adjutant General Corps Regiment was activated at the home of the Corps, Fort Benjamin Harrison, Indiana. This special occasion united members of the Corps from around the world to celebrate the regiment as a focal point of pride and energy. Festivities started early on June 16th with a 12-event regimental athletic day. Soldiers competed in swimming, softball, horseshoes, the litter carry, combat pushball, sprint relays, and 5 and 10K races. Lieutenant Colonel Art Dupé led a team from Fort Jackson to capture gold honors. Over 870 regimental crest medals were awarded for individual excellence. The Club Management School hosted a reunion buffet. Brigadier General Ron Brooks, Hall of Fame class of 2010, unveiled a plaque dedicating the regimental mess for both the officer and non-commissioned officer clubs at Fort Harrison. Following the dedication of the Adjutant General School entrance at Gates Lord Hall, the official activation ceremony was held on the parade ground. British Army Major Robert Dilby served as narrator, reflecting the fact that Horatio Gates was a British major before his appointment as our first Adjutant General. The commander of troops was Colonel Mary Willis. Units participating were the Chicago MEPS, the 14th and 43rd AG Battalions, the 21st Replacement Battalion, the 90th and 387th PNA Battalions, the 74th Army Band, the Troop Brigade Color Guard and Salute Battery. On the field were colors from Detroit MEPS, the 369th AG Battalion, the 30th, 42nd, 43rd, 46th, 67th, 95th, and 120th Reception Battalions. The 1st, 18th, 22nd, 38th, and 90th PNA Battalions. Reserve unit colors were from the 100th and 387th Reception Battalions and the 325th, 335th, and 347th PNA Battalions. Major General retired Vern Bowers was invested as the Honorary Colonel. Chief Warrant Officer 4 retired Donald Hess as Honorary Warrant Officer, and Sergeant Major retired Dan Daly as Honorary Sergeant Major of the Regiment. Major General Alexei, Hall of Fame class of 2011, dedicated the Adjutant General Corps colors. The words "Defend and Serve" became our motto, and the Adjutant General Corps Regiment was officially activated. The grand finale was the Adjutant General Corps Regimental Ball. The first Horatio Gates medals were bestowed upon many distinguished officers and non-commissioned officers for their significant contributions to the good of the Corps. The evening ended with the grand tattoo and the premier performance of the Adjutant General Corps March. The Adjutant General Corps March that you just heard was prepared for the Hall of Fame induction ceremony by the United States Army Band and Chorus, Pershing Zone. For the past 34 years, the AG Corps and Regimental Association have continued to provide world-class service to soldiers, commanders, and families. Units have activated and deactivated as the Army transformed. Soldiers and units have deployed to Poland, Afghanistan, Iraq, Kosovo, Kuwait, Panama, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Serbia, and the Sinai. And AG soldiers have made the ultimate sacrifice during the global war on terrorism and overseas contingency operations. Soldiers and civilians continue to receive awards. 1775, the official magazine of the Corps, was improved. Chapters have activated, others have deactivated. And today is another significant day in the history of the AG Corps as we induct new members of the Hall of Fame and distinguished members of the Corps, class of 2021, for their contributions to our Army and the AG Corps. Army Regulation 870-21, the U.S. Army Regimental System, bestows upon the Chief of the Corps the ability to appoint an honorary colonel, chief warrant officer, and sergeant major of the Corps. These members provide a link with the history to today's soldier and assist the Chief of the Corps in perpetuating the history and tradition of the Corps. The honoraries are appointed for up to 2 3-year terms. And we are pleased to have 2 of our 3 honoraries in attendance with us this morning, and I would ask them to stand to be recognized at this time. The Honorary Colonel of the Corps, Major General Retired Rick Mustian. The Honorary Sergeant Major of the Corps, Command Sergeant Major Retired Billy J. Blackman. And unfortunately, our third member, the Honorary Warrant Officer of the Corps, Chief Warrant Officer 5, retired David Ratliff, could not attend today's ceremony, which explains my presence as your Master of Ceremonies. In April of 2009, the Chief of the Corps proposed creating a Hall of Honor to recognize AG soldiers and civilians. Colonel retired Rob Manning was the visionary, and this year marks the 12th iteration of inductions into the Hall of Honor. Rob, could you please stand? Following the ceremony, you will have an opportunity to visit the Hall of Honor in the Adjutant General School. There you'll find the history of the Adjutant General Corps depicted in a timeline from 1775 to the modern day. You'll see the names of the recipients of the Maude, Logan, Strickland, Deneen, DeBear Reed, Gorley, Foster, and McCullough Awards displayed. At this time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the Chief of the Corps, Colonel Marcus Motley.
Where's that other list so I don't mess it up? There. Good list. We have. Awesome. I gotta get this right? Okay, thank you. Good morning and welcome to the Adjutant General Corps' 2021 Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I just want to take a few moments to recognize some special guests we have here. We have my G1 and your G1, the Army G1 team, Lieutenant General Brito. And then with him is Sergeant Major Clark, the G1 Sergeant Major. Also want to acknowledge the inductees and our families. We're honored to be in your presence today. To Major General Retired Dean, Major General Retired Price, and others who are in the audience. I don't want to name them all, but I see Sergeant Major Lewis, and CSM Lewis was a former SSI CSM. I also want to recognize and thank the honorees of the AG Corps for being here today. As already mentioned, was Major General Retired Rick Munshin. Thanks for the calls and the emails, sir. And is your wife Kelly here today? No. She's not. I just want to make sure. This is important. Command Sergeant Major Billy Blackman, Honorary Sergeant Major. And then, of course, we mentioned that Chief Ratliff is not here today, our Honorary Warrant Officer. Special thanks to Colonel Retired Rob Manning, was previously mentioned. And then our partners of the National Executive Council of the Adjutant General Corps Regimental Association. Thanks also to the Soldier Support Institute, Colonel Ayton. I don't see him, but I think he was changing into his, is he here? Awesome. Got to get my boss in there too, right? And Command Sergeant Major Wilson is in the back. I see Mr. Porter, Tier 2 SCS from the FORSCOM G1. And to any others I missed, distinguished guests, welcome. The Hall of Fame and distinguished members of the AG Corps, as well as AG Week and the AG National Ball in previous years were in June. But instead we did it in September. We needed to have this, even during the COVID environment. We needed to show that we can beat it. And we operated, kept the schoolhouse open. There were some constraints with the ball and constraints with AG Week, as you know it, no golf tournament. But we had to do it. Recognition is important. And you're already aware that of the postponement of the ball was heartfelt. And but I want to also thank the committee for their hard work. It's postponed, it wasn't canceled, so we'll resume that in June. During AG Week, an HR conference, we had professionals from every component, every echelon. Over the past couple of days, we huddled in breakout sessions to tackle the toughest challenges of the AG Corps, the sustainment community, and the Army. I can report to you all that the hard work that you have contributed and the work that you've done in the past has not gone in vain. I can report to you that we have not dropped the ball. I can report to you that you have passed us a good baton that we have not dropped. Have we dropped it, Sergeant Major?
No, sir.
But we remain good stewards of the profession and the AG Corps, and the AG Corps is still in good shape. As you know, the Hall of Fame was started in 2010, and with today's Hall of Fame inductees, we bring the total number of inductees to 86. Selection to the Hall of Fame indicates that you are the best and that you have made outstanding and lasting contributions to the AG Corps. A Hall of Fame nominee's file is heavily scrutinized and scrutinized again and questioned and asked why now, and scrutinized again. And so each inductee is selected by a panel comprised of the current AG Corps leadership and former Hall of Fame members, current Hall of Fame members. And I want to thank those who participated on this anonymous panel. Likewise, selection as a distinguished member of the Corps is a tough selection. Distinguished members of the Corps promote and enhance the history and traditions of the Corps. They promote warfighting ethos among soldiers and create cohesion among members of the Corps. And today's AG community consists of more than 40,000 military members and civilians. And so this year's DMOC inductees bring that total to 273. So today is appropriate for us to recognize the legends and heroes of our past, and many of whom continue to serve our community today. And I cannot tell you enough thanks. Thanks for your presence. Thanks for your continued mentorship and professionalism. And thanks for all that you continue to do. If you are a current member of the Hall of Fame or a distinguished member of the Corps, please stand. Thank you. Please be seated. And just in closing, because I know I want to give you more time to talk, but just in closing, I want to say to our 2021 inductees, we honor you. And we thank you for your pattern of excellence that you've established, that we envy and will emulate. And thanks for all you do all day, every day, as you continue representing the AG Corps and as you continue to tell the Army story, defend and serve. Thank you.
Before we recognize the newest distinguished members of the Corps, I'd like us to please take a moment of silence to remember all those Hall of Fame members who have passed away since their induction. Each year, names are nominated for selection as a distinguished member of the Corps. The Chief of the Corps makes the final decision. The duties of the NEMOCs are ceremonial, and the position offers the recipient prestige and stature within the Corps. They are charged to assist the Chief of the Corps and the honorary leaders of the Corps in perpetuating our history. As the names are read, we ask that those who are with us today please stand to be recognized. The distinguished members of the Corps for 2021 are Major General Chris A. Bellinger, Brigadier General Thomas J. Edwards, Jr., Brigadier General Hope C. Rampey, Colonel Retired Daniel Ahern, Colonel June S. Copeland, Colonel Greg S. Johnson, Colonel Michael T. McTighe, Colonel Retired Patrick M. Rice. Lieutenant Colonel Randy P. Lefebvre. Lieutenant Colonel Derek E. Lucarelli. CW5 Chad G. Bowen. CW5 Maria D. Martinez. CW5 R. Tina Rendon. CW5 Retired Gail B. Shillingford. CW4 Charmaine L. Hilliard. CW4 Raymond Reichka. CSM Jamie K. Price. CSM John Y. Williams. Sergeant Major Stacy S. Crawford. Sergeant Major Rebecca R. Kennedy. Sergeant Major Retired Chris T. Lyons. Sergeant Major Andrea J. Metcalf. Sergeant Major Marlena J. Neal. Sergeant Major Roger Rendon, and Mr. Arthur L. Nelson. These individuals are commemorated with their names permanently placed in the AG Corps of Honor on the plaque that you see displayed to the left of the stage. Inductees are also provided a lapel pin to be worn at official functions. Please join me in another round of applause for the 2021 distinguished members of the Adjutant General Corps. We will now conduct the Hall of Honor induction ceremony for the class of 2021. You'll find information about each inductee in your program. The members of the class of 2021 will receive a special Adjutant General Corps crest and pin to be worn at official functions. Please feel free at this time to move about to take pictures. Our first inductee for the class of 2021 is Colonel Retired Donald A. Bartholomew. Colonel Bartholomew was commissioned into the AG Corps in 1980. He served as the 24th Commandant of the AG School and Chief of the Corps, and as the first C1 Multinational Forces Iraq, then culminated his career as Director of Marketing, Education, and Outreach, G579, for USAREC. Upon retiring, he continued his support to the Army in USAREC's G579. His actions and influence resulted in the Army's ability to identify and recruit America's finest to serve during the challenging years of the global war on terror, while ensuring the balance and sustainment of the all-volunteer total force. Please welcome Colonel Donald Bartholomew into the Adjutant General Corps Hall of Fame class of 2021.
Good morning. It's tough going first. You know, I've only got 57 minutes. Five to 7 minutes, right? 5 to 7 minutes, sorry. Hey, thank you to the Anonymous Selection Committee. As I look at my heroes that adorn that hallway down there, I'm humbled to be considered in the same category. It's fitting to see so many familiar faces in the crowd, though. General Dean, we served together when I was a lieutenant. He hosted my frocking ceremony to Lieutenant Colonel. It's very, very good to see you. I owe most of my success in uniform to my wife of 27 years, Sherry, 37 years, my first wife, who's with us here today with her sister and her brother-in-law. Most of you would be surprised to learn that I suffer from imposter syndrome. If you're not sure what that is, feel free to look it up. For years, I've reluctantly accepted praise and promotions, while all the time feeling unworthy. This Hall of Fame ceremony does nothing to allay that fear. Sherry, however, over the years has been there to keep me on track. convincing me at the times where praise was warranted and throwing the BS flag when it was not. She didn't throw, okay. I love you to the moon and back. Any other success I achieved was a result of having stellar people around me. That includes bosses who allowed me to take risks and not micromanage. It includes my subordinates and my coworkers. I read a long time ago that the success of a good leader was to hire talented people and then get the hell out of their way. I've been blessed with some incredible NCOs, civilians, and contractors, many of which who adorn the hallways here as DMOCs and Hall of Fame, and many more that should. I've had lots of folks who have worked for me that reached CSM and flag officer level, and a few of them may say despite having worked for me. Any success that I have enjoyed is a result of those people. I know there's a bio in your program, but I wanted to highlight some of the decision points along my career that I think made a difference on where I ended up and why I might stand here before you today. I owe my work ethic to my father. Dad, thanks for showing me the benefits of never giving up. Next to Sherry, he is my biggest cheerleader. You also discover I'm one of those AG officers who found myself rarely working for other AGs. I showed up in my first assignment at Fort Bragg, already airborne qualified, convinced that I was headed to the division. That was not the case. In COSCOM, though, I was able to make my way to the first rotation of Multinational Forces Observers. I discovered that deployment by reading the message center messages that came through, and I let folks know that I was interested in the S1 position. I was second choice. You're going to hear that a lot this morning in my remarks. Second behind a Captain Garrison who couldn't go because his wife wouldn't let him. Being second choice worked out in my favor more times than not. It was in fact the peacekeeping environment that I got to work with one of the finest Army logisticians and finest human beings that I had the pleasure to know, and that was Lieutenant Colonel James Chicken Man Wright. He demonstrated how to treat soldiers with respect, to still have fun and get the most out of them while accomplishing a tough mission. That initial tour, as well as the fourth rotation, made me a better officer and became part of my toolkit as time went along. As a captain, the Army decided I needed to do one of the 3 R's, in this case, recruiting in Charleston, South Carolina. So as newlyweds, Sherry and I head out for what would turn out to be many tours in recruiting. Most of you wouldn't believe me if I told you I was an introvert, but staying up here today is uncomfortable for me. The company command tour and recruiting forced me to talk to people, not just people, but to strangers. And not just strangers, but strangers in large numbers. I thrived in that environment only because I believed in the Army, and it's easy to talk about something that you believe in. Plus, I had professional soldiers and station commanders like Johnny Troutman, Tom Tiernan, Sergeant First Class Gaines, First Sergeant Whites, and others that were easy to lead, and teammates like Al Watley, who was a Battalion S3 in Columbia Recruiting Battalion. It taught me early on that you need to make the best of what the Army sends, where the Army sends you. After 48 straight months in recruiting, I was ready for a change of pace and anxious to show Sherry what the real Army looked like. So where does the AG assignment officer, Rick Porter, send me? He sends me to a NATO assignment. Now, in all fairness, I said I wanted to go to Germany. Rick says, how about Heidelberg? I said, yes. He says, don't you want to know what it is? I said, I don't care. I'd been through Heidelberg as a young lieutenant on leave, walking through the winter wonderland there, and thought it was a great assignment. But after 6 months in the CENTAC G1, I was again given a chance to be second choice for an XO of the DECOS support. The first pick screwed up, that's okay. And then I found myself in the office of Brigadier General John Piach and followed by Buzz Kievanar, where I was exposed to a myriad of strategic decision processes involving up to 4-star leaders. Lesson here, let your preferences be known, but go where the Army sends you. Thanks to Rick Porter, I missed Desert Shield, Desert Storm. But he makes it up to me after CGSC, and he picks me to be his backup replacement for the Delta Adjutant. Fate smiles on me yet again, and the first choice chooses to go off to be an XO at a DA staff. And I get what I consider to be the job of my lifetime. Seriously, I could have left there after the 3 years and been very, very happy. Where else do you have the opportunity to work with some of the finest operators and support soldiers in the world, experience the opportunity to write 2 Medals of Honor, and all the same time be on jump status? The lesson here is try to leave a unit better than you found it. And in my case, I did that by selecting Kip Taylor as my replacement. The next tour was in the Army G1 Pentagon, where as a major I was working for Mike Milazzo. Say a prayer. This is my chance where I had to not screw up command boards and school boards, and I failed at least one of them, according to Lieutenant General J.T. Scott. But it was a lot of fun, and it was tough duty. I got replaced by Tim Robertson, which clearly allowed the Army to be in a better place. Base Support Battalion, I went back to a recruiting command in St. Louis. This was my third position within USAREC. In my mind, this was me paying back for the many successes I might have enjoyed in that environment. And while it was tough duty, it was necessary to pay it back. Base Support Battalion in Mannheim was the first time where Sherry got to see what I called the mainstream Army. At the time, AG officers Jim Komisch, Nick Miller, Gary Longhaney, Dan Bruno, they all served as BSB commanders in Germany. And I'm convinced to this day that AG officers are uniquely qualified to deal with the challenges facing the garrison commanders because of our customer-facing attitude and our experiences. With all the talk of needing to command within your branch, the lesson I learned is take command where the Army offers it and make the best of it. Well, after the War College branch decided I needed to go to the schoolhouse as the deputy and the director of combat development. As a new colonel, you know you're stuck with where the Army wants to send you. But I was shocked at the schoolhouse just because you heard my vast experience within the AG Corps up to that point. Mike Milazzo made me feel comfortable though, and he takes me to the very first Council of Colonels early on. And again, it boosts my self-esteem in terms of being valuable to him. And then I find out this is when the Washington or the DC sniper was going on, and Mike just wanted a bigger target stand next to him on the corner while we're outside the Hoffman building. A few of you probably know that Mike, when he dropped his retirement like 6 months later, you know this story. I anticipated having a new boss as a commandant, but apparently it was harder to get a one-year drop from command, 06 command, than people thought. So General Stanton said I was up again, once again, number 2. But talk about being in the wrong place at the right time. Once again, I used the adage of surround yourself with talented people, and it paid off. With Mike Armstead as my CSM, Charlie Wigglesworth as my senior warrant, Willard Lovett in CD, Alec Devon Plinsky, Al Wadley, and instructors like Mike McTighe, Bill Villanow, Hope Rampy, and Dave Wood. How could you screw up? We took on new challenges like integrating EMOPO into the curriculum, initiated personnel service redesign, reduction of battalion and brigade group commands, significant reductions in what was then the 71 Lima authorizations, in the beginning stages of standing up the S1 net, the latter of which could not have been possible without the heavy lifting of Cindy Dillard, who was the director of the 43 course. The lesson I learned there is trust everybody, but have a plan to get back at Mike Milazzo whenever you can. I sat here at Fort Jackson while my battle buddy, Bob Spear, left. Yep, that's Bob Spear, the future acting secretary of the Army, Bob Spear. He left to go off to Iraq, and ultimately in 2004, I got the opportunity to follow him as we stood up MNFI, assuming the theater mission from Bob Ortiz in CJTF 7. Fellow Hall of Famer Wanda Wilson was kind enough to then pre-position me after that into Fort Knox area for 3rd Recruiting Brigade. But ultimately, having worked for General Bostic for such a long time, I'd realized that we could do a better job and have more of a contribution staying in the civilian capacity, where we launched Army Strong, made the mission consecutively for a number of years. My career was filled with lots of choices and lots of times where the Army said, shut up and move out. I wouldn't change a thing except maybe marry this woman 2 years earlier. Thanks, Tony, for allowing me to participate with the Gold Vault chapter as we're down there at Fort Knox. And thank you for allowing me to drone on and go down memory lane. Once again, thank you for this honor. Defend and serve.
Our next inductee is Colonel Retired Timothy Robertson. Colonel Robertson was commissioned into the AG Corps in 1978. He successfully commanded at all levels from company through brigade and held several key staff and education-related assignments throughout his stellar 26-year career. He was well known as a competent and caring leader who preached teamwork and team success. Following retirement, Tim continued his support with long-lasting impacts to the AG Corps and the Army, serving as the Army Career and Alumni Program Manager and managing contractor operations for the Army Wounded Warrior Advocate Program, supporting the Army wounded, ill, and injured soldiers and their families. He also served as a mentor for many AG officers attending National Defense University. Colonel Robertson was equally at ease among soldiers in the field, teaching at the War College or at briefings in the Pentagon's E-Ring. His 40 years of selfless service has helped produce 21st century leaders ready for today's multifaceted challenges. Please welcome Colonel Robertson into the Adjutant General Corps Hall of Fame class of 2021.
Chest out, stomach in.
Nobody told me that.
All right, get to take the mask off. Thank you. Distinguished leaders, fellow inductees, family, and friends, thank you for attending today. I'm humbled and honored by this recognition. It would not be possible without the efforts of many folks over many years. The Lord blessed me in myriad ways. My parents provided a loving household and guideposts for me. A lot of people don't have that. I did. My father was a great role model, coach, and teacher. My mother was street smart, and she was the disciplinarian, but she also liked fun. They imbued me in the importance of the 7 F's: faith, family, friends, fitness, freedom, our flag, and fun. I'd like to congratulate my colleagues, especially Don, and missing person Wanda. Don was always positive with the Buddy Kelly-like demeanor, very competent and talented. Wanda was that consummate professional. Like many successful people in the room, I'm married up. Kathy Robb, my loving bride of 43 years, has been my rock, my sounding board, my counselor, my coach, and amazing mother. She's the real Hall of Famer, supporting soldiers and their families, not to mention sailors, Marines, and airmen over 40-plus years. Her sacrifices and contributions as an Army spouse, as a mother, and as a civil servant are innumerable. Together, we raised 2 Eagle Scout sons whom I was lucky enough to participate in their commissioning ceremonies. Our oldest son, Brian, is still on active duty in the Air Force, serving as a lieutenant colonel. He's a regional commander at Fort Lewis McChord, so I'm officially feeling old. He's got an infectious smile and a twinkle in his eyes that light up a room. He's a great son. Patrick, our youngest son, he completed 2 combat tours in Afghanistan with the 10th Mountain Division and the 1st Cav in some of the roughest places. He got all of his mother's best qualities and none of my shortcomings. 5 years ago, I was promoted from father to grandpa. That was a great experience. I'm really enjoying our 5 grandchildren. Our daughters-in-law, Kelsey and Brenna, have been wonderful military spouses and mothers and parents. Both families wish they could have been here for this, but they're here in spirit. Where do I begin to thank all those that I've served with in the Army that made it such a wonderful experience? I was blessed with some amazing leaders during my field artillery and 8th Infantry Division days: General Bono, Reimer, Sweet, Luck, Adair, and many others. Raised by battle-hardened sergeants in beautiful Baumholder in the late 70s, I changed my promise to Kathy that I would leave the Army after 4 years, in part due to General Adair's positive influence. He was my battery commander at the time. And I learned so much during my time at 1st PERSCOM, working under Brigadier General Bill Alexi, with the help of Neil Schneider, Ed Strong, Ron Klaus, Fred Bohref, and so many others. Working at Headquarters USER, I again worked for 2 great leaders, General Fritz Crozen and General Glenn K. Otis, both very different leadership styles, but I learned so much from both. On reflection, our 5 years in Germany in 3 locations, the Volksmarching, the wine and beer fests, traveling on weekends, such fond memories. However, I really treasure my paratrooper days at Fort Bragg, both in the 82nd Airborne Division and at the 18th Soldier Support Group, where I was surrounded with an abundance of great leaders, helpful colleagues, tech-savvy, warrants, mission-focused sergeants, and wonderful troops. A few foundational paratroopers that stand out: Staff Sergeant Dawn Lisbon, First Sergeant Rudy Cook, Sergeant First Class Christopher, Sergeant First Class Hernandez, Specialist Chris Lyons, yeah, he's the same one that the Sergeant Major Lyons on there, and First Sergeant Bill Hoffer. All these people went on to bigger and better things. I'll never forget the fabulous warrant officers. We have Tommy Gondautry here in person, and the late Jose Vigil, Pam Johnson, Dick Roman, and so many others. And flag rank leaders like General Jack Nix, Hugh Shelton, Keith Kellogg, Dan McNeil, Denny Kerr, and later Generals Buck Kernan, Dave Petraeus, Stan McChrystal, Dave Rodriguez, Ed Dunwoody. I was able to work with all these people. So great. I was fortunate. And my immediate bosses who helped refine me, the Les Bowens, the Bob Murphys, and the Mike Malassos, all Hall of Famers, and all who married up. And then teammates like J.P. McClure, Art Strange, Colin Hood, Jim Iacocca, Tom Siemens, Pat Jordan, Deb Head, Mark Collins, the list goes on, Mike Scudder, Mike Copenhaver, Steve Ayton, and Al Watley, just the amazing people that I had a chance to work with. And then my time at the SSI Schoolhouse here at Fort Jackson, circa 94 through 96, again put me with great leaders. General Schneider, Sims, Hickerson, and Colonel Grash, to name a few, and First Sergeant Lewis, yeah, the same one that you heard about, Sergeant Major Lewis, Ward, Colin Hood, Denise Haggerty, Ann Bryant, Charlie Brown, and a stable of other strong captains help improve the training and operations in the mighty 369. I also enjoyed serving here in the schoolhouse, serving as the battalion and brigade pre-command course mentor, and it's great to be back here today. Having recently reflected on the 20th anniversary of 9/11, serving as the J1 of Joint Forces Command during the aftermath was both intense and fulfilling. I was working for General Kernan at that time. As you may recall, there was no NORTHCOM or no Homeland Security Department. JIFCOM had those missions. A few other career highlights. So got a chance to work at National Defense University, as was mentioned. I love to serve as a mentor to the AG officers coming through, and enjoyed instructing. My time as a contractor and as a civil servant, working the Army Wounded Warrior Program and ACAP, and working in the VA to help veterans get better support, were all very worthwhile, and I feel lucky to have done that. Yeah, more thank yous. Other AG officers who provided me their wisdom and guidance over the years: Generals Maude, Volrath, Rochelle, Dean, Muschin, Colonels Nick Manji, the late Buddy Kelly, Mike Harris, Linda Christ, Keith Joseph, the visionary Rob Manning, and others, to name just a few. I'd like to shout out a few other non-AG mentors over the years. Andy West and Ray Miller, both air defenders, provided me mentorship over 40 plus years, almost as much as Kathy Robb. Rick Priest, Tony Stamilio, Dr. Severance, Daryl Demery, Kevin Knotts provided wise counsel over several decades. In summary, I was very lucky and blessed. Thank you all who helped make me a better soldier, paratrooper, AG officer, instructor, and leader. St. Michael, thank you for watching over me, both on and off the drop zone. To my Hall of Fame wife, Kathy Robb, and my 2 sons and their families, what a blessing you are to me. Words are inadequate to express my love and appreciation. To those in the audience, thank you for coming today. It makes it very special. Thanks also to those who work behind the scenes, including the nominating panels, the ceremony setup, the rehearsals, the AV support, the music, all of it. I know that a lot goes into it. Thank you all the way. Army pride, defend and serve.
The next member of the class of 2021 is Colonel Retired Tony Teolis. In his over 30 years of combined service, Colonel Teolis served as Chief of Casualty and Mortuary Affairs Operations Center, CMOC, during the Afghanistan surge The HRC moved from Alexandria, Virginia to Fort Knox, Kentucky, and during construction of the Joint Personnel Effects Depot at Dover Air Force Base, Delaware. As the deputy tag, Tony was instrumental in supporting many Army initiatives to include the new online OER and NCOER process and format, expansion of the Army Soldier for Life program, implementation of significant changes to tuition assistance, and the reduction of unemployment compensation. Finally, as the current Chief Enlisted Readiness Division, Tony continually optimizes enlisted readiness under the Sustainable Readiness Model. Tony was instrumental in the development and execution of the enlisted manning cycles and the ASK-EM enlisted marketplace, and the distribution plan and readiness tracking of 330,000 soldiers while ensuring their career development and predictability under the market-based system. Please welcome Colonel Tony Teolis into the Hall of Fame class of 2021.
All right. Well, so Don, Mr. Villeneuve and I had talked, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to say thanks for 57 minutes, and he's going to say, no, knucklehead, it was 5 to 7.
Sorry.
No, thank you. Great minds think alike. So, 5 to 7. Sure. All right, so I'm going to stand behind that. I actually like the fact that it's a little shorter so you can see me. But I want to first start by just simply saying connections. Right, this is a homecoming. Right? I mean, you look around and the names that were talked about, the relationships, right? That's what we're all about. The relationships, homecoming, the experiences that we share, friends that we've lost along the way, right? The emotion of family and all that stuff, right? So before I go through the speech that I wrote like 17 times, you know, this is amazing. And so the unfortunate part that Colonel Motley talked about with the ball and the other events, those things are so critical to what we do as people because we take care of people. We're all about people, right? There's a people strategy, you know, on and on and on. So it is unfortunate, but we are all grateful that you didn't cancel this. So thank you for that. And to the three of you, thank you very much for the recognition and the chance to be here. So talk about a couple of quick connections with the group. So I was as tall as Rob Manning one day back in the day, but then I worked for General Mustian. And General Mustian would call me into his office, or he'd come see me when I was the commander of 369. He'd be like, Tony, you know, like, whatever the question, right? And I'd like, I'd answer and be like, no. Oh, I got to stand behind here? Okay.
I can't hear online.
All right, so anyway, General Mustian would hit me on the head. And after about 3 years of that, this is what you get. Other connections, Don Bartholomew. So Don Bartholomew has just been amazing, and part of my speech today is going to talk about the AG Regimental Association. You know, you can't ask for a better battle buddy at Fort Knox for the AG Regimental Association, and the hours of mentorship, personal time, commitment to the association, and again, a great connection. Rob Manning, when he was here at the schoolhouse, mentoring me. Again, I mentioned General Mustian on multiple occasions working for him. You go through the group, you know, Colonel Retired McCula, the Manji family has been amazing. I'm going to talk about Colin Hood a little bit. Mr. Porter, he's mean to me. You know, General Price, on and on and on. You know, Command Sergeant Major Blackman, again, connections that have got me here today. So, now for the speech. Good day to all. I'm Tony Teolis, and I'm a soldier for life. And this is just truly an honor to be here. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and thank you for attending. And again, I know it was just mentioned, but to everyone that put this on, this is truly a wonderful event. So I want to start with, again, I'll just say Colonel Motley, to you and the team here, and to Colonel Retired Manning, the Honorary Council, National Executive Council, and many others involved, and for everything that you do for the Corps, to include the Adjutant General Corps Regimental Association programs that recognize our HR professionals. The tremendous effort as volunteers does not go unnoticed, and your work makes the AGCRA shine as a professional organization. And I'm grateful to be part of not only the AG Corps, but the AG Regimental Association. I want to quickly thank many that have helped get me here today, and I'm not going to run through the entire career per se, but really just try to hit the highlights. So God and faith, that was mentioned, and there's been a few times I've had to look up and ask for forgiveness and for help in getting me through this. Mom and Dad for always being there. And so for Shelby and I have been married for 100 years. I just wanted to outdo them. Been married a little over 5 years. We're on a redo. So far, she's keeping me around. I think the state pays her to keep me out of trouble. But to Shelby, she has been amazing, and truly enjoy the adventures that we have right now and that we're going to have post-second retirement after our 15-year-old gets out of high school. So a couple of things real quick about Shelby and what she endures. So Chief of Enlisted Readiness, wouldn't be a bad job if Rick Porter, retired Rick Porter, would stop emailing the G1. However, where is he? However, she puts up with me, at night, getting out of bed, going back to work. It's 10. Sometimes I get up as early as 3, and I go down in the kitchen and I start working, because that's what the job entails, with the amount that is ongoing that influences readiness. And she puts up with that. For Shelby and the kids, through multiple AGCRA events, whether it's decorating, helping organize, she is always heavily involved and all of that. And there's been times where the kids are also involved in getting things ready for different events, to include times where Braden and I have been at a kitchen table and I am like triple checking the seating chart, and Braden is doing tick marks as I'm reading off names, because it matters, right? Precision matters, and the quality of an AGCRA product matters. And again, so to Shelby, thank you for being just a tremendous partner in life and a beautiful bride, and for supporting everything that I do, even if it happens to be at crazy hours of the night. A special thanks to the Manji family, especially Colonel Manji, for leading the tremendous effort to nominate me, and to everyone that supported the packet. Thank you so very much for carrying that heavy burden, and I am grateful. And now I'm going to rattle off a special thanks to many. So Lieutenant General Retired Siemens, and to Lieutenant General Brito and Lieutenant General Evans, retired Major Generals Mustian, Dean, Price, and Pharisee, current Major Generals, Major General Drew, Major General Stitt, Major General Bellinger, and retired BGs, Brigadier Generals McEwen, Porter, Bennett, Jones, Iacocca, Edwards, current serving Brigadier General Rampey, again, Colonel Retired Manji, Mark Rado. So Mark, back in the day, where's Mark? There's Mark. So back in the day when Mark was coming in to be the D-Tag, and he was the president of the Gold Vault chapter, we were working together on that transition, and it may have been just prior to that. Anyway, it was kind of a, hey, there's an opening on the Gold Vault chapter council, and I joined the team. He was a tremendous, not only mentor, but a mentor both professionally and part of the Regimental Association. And so I have carried the Gold Vault chapter torch since he has departed, since, he departed plus or minus 14, 13? Anyway, I'm grateful for what Mark's done. Retired Colonel Paul Prophet, Makula, Malasso, Finke, Lou, and I'll throw in Sharon Hinkle, and many colonels, Jones, Ayton, Luke, Motley, McGregor, Kellogg, and so many other great mentors that you may recognize: Tom Quinn, Ward, Colin Hood, Pete Dagnes, Dave Smoot, Bill Villeneuve, Buck Nichols, retired warrant officers Ratliff, Sims, Smock, Henson, Robinson, retired Sergeants Major Purcell, Heinrich, Martin, Blackman, Meager, Lewis, and currently serving Command Sergeant Major McAdoo, Wilson, Clark, Atkinson, Rendon, and so many other professionals. So, you know, talking about connections, this young man right here is coming up to be the EPMD Sergeant Major. I don't know how the hell that happened. However, Commandant 369, he was one of my drill sergeants. Resiliency, because God knows I tried to ruin his career. Command Sergeant Major McAdoo, right, up at HRC, one of my first sergeants during command at 369. And it just goes on. Again, relationships that last a lifetime, and the meaning is just, it never ends. To the many that serve on the Fort Knox Gold Vault Chapter Council over the last 10 years, especially retired Sergeant Major John Fisher, what an amazing team of teams. And so when you do heavy AGCRA on top of being a proud member of the Corps, it takes a lot of effort. So I want to give a shout out to our corporate sponsors. Serco, Booz Allen Hamilton, Magellan Federal, North-South, Golden Key Group, Troops First Foundation, First Command, and so many others that donated over the years tens of thousands of dollars that help support the Maude Foundation, the Maude Memorial Fund, and all that. Some of that money goes into the Maude Lecture Series and our Gold Vault Chapter scholarship programs. Everything that we've been able to do is also connected to those great organizations for donating their money and their time. And then for the last 7 years, being the Chief of Enlisted Readiness Division is no joke. You know, it is ever changing. 330,000 people sounds like a lot, but we are literally at name tape defilade on any given day, whether a GO wants a driver, or it's an EFMP, or it has something to do with a manning cycle, an SFAB, you name it. And so I want to give a special shout out to my fellow HR EPMD division chiefs and the Mighty Readiness Division team of Ms. Holst, Mr. McKinney, Mr. Gaines, Colonel Murphy, and 70 additional RD superheroes. Every day they do a tremendous amount of work. So thank you all for making me the HR professional that I am today and for getting me to this place of honor. If I didn't say your name, and the audience here is small, but to this audience and the audience online, it was not due to a lack of importance in my life, merely time, but I am grateful for everyone. So I want to give a special shout out to Miss Terry Maude and the Maude family. So during the previous years when Terry was still traveling, she'd come up to Fort Knox, and Dan Maude, Lieutenant General Maude's brother, would also come up. And we would do the fundraisers there, and again, guys like Don Bartholomew would donate from the corporate level money and time that made this successful, that supported Terry and the cause. It was extra special seeing Miss Maude last week during the 20th anniversary events where Command Sergeant Major McAdoo and Major General Drew did just a tremendous event, and it's very special. So for Miss Maude, many prayers to you and the family, and we will never forget. So now I want to transition to talk about the AGCRA. So recognizing the two piece of this event between the Corps and the AGCRA, and I just want to throw out a couple of things, and I'm going to cut my speech a little bit short so I don't stay up here for too long. But the Adjutant General Corps Regimental Association is extra special to me, and I want to take a minute to talk about that importance. So what does it mean to you? Right? Everyone in this room, you don't have to raise your hand, could be a member of the Regimental Association, right? You don't have to be AG to be a member of the Regimental Association. But too many military and civilian professionals that support HR don't feel connected to the AGCRA. But I think it's time that we support the efforts of Colonel Manning, Colonel retired Rob Manning, to help breathe some extra life into the AGCRA and what it stands for and what it does for our profession, right? A lot of professions have an association. Ours is called AGCRA. So I want to challenge everyone, all right? This is really cool, and I'm going to wear this around the house as Shelby tells me it's time to do chores. And I'm going to be like, but I got the patch, right? Because she lets me run a lot of things around the house, like the dishwasher and the vacuum, and I'm going to wear this. Just you wait. So let's help Colonel Manning and the National Council, because they can't do it on their own. Case in point, Fort Knox has thousands of HR professionals that aren't AG, so they do not feel connected because they're not AG, right? Or maybe they just don't know what it means to feel a part of a professional organization. It is time that we fix that. But how do we fix it? Constant communication, energy, effort. It's going to take everyone to make that connection to communicate the value that we bring as HR professionals, not only to our community, but to our Army. So you don't need to be AG to be an HR professional. Case in point, there's a gentleman here by the name of Lieutenant General Brito, right? He's not AG. He is a tremendous HR professional. Major General Drew is an aviator, commands HRC. He's not AG. He's a tremendous HR professional. So the message is we can grow our community by just passing the message of what it means to be an HR professional. I'll give you a case in point. The AGCRA is about 3,700 members. HRC alone has 3,700 people. So case in point, we can grow our community. To do that, I challenge everyone to make a special contribution by getting involved in your local chapter. Mr. Bartholomew, Colonel retired Bartholomew, is that special agent that we have brought onto the council at Fort Knox to keep our retired community involved and reach out and make sure that they feel connected. And so I challenge all of us, DMOCs and Hall of Famers, to get out there and make a difference with your council. This is our time to give back, right? It is really cool to be in the cool club, but it is our time to give back. When you make GO, right, General Brito, when he made 1-star, and I'll use General Mustian again as an example, they didn't put their feet up and say, I made it and now it's time to kick back. No, it just began and it got worse, right? The hours grew longer, the days grew shorter, and the work got harder. So the bottom line is, this is our time to give back to the community. So I'll wrap it up. Dear, thanks for being amazing. Love you and appreciate it. Again, to the Manji family and to Colonel Retired Manji for leading the effort in this. I appreciate it. To my battle buddy, Mark Rado, extra special friend, and I'm grateful for that. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Wolf, Chief WCW4, Wolf and his wife. You know, when I talked about connections, I forgot, and I don't want to pass by this. 2 warrants, tremendous contribution to the association, nonstop to their family, and they are just a tremendous model. And I did want to give you a personal shout out for all you do for us at the Gold Vault chapter. Okay, so I was less than 57 minutes, over 5 to 7. Again, to all, I am grateful for the selection and the honor to be a Hall of Famer. There's much to do for our Corps and for the association. Thank you very much. Defend and serve. Army pride.
The next member of the class is Colonel Retired Wanda E. Wilson. Unfortunately, Colonel Wilson was unable to make it here today. But she distinguished herself through exceptionally meritorious service during a career that spanned 27 years and a recall to active duty to serve as the 28th Commandant of the U.S. Army Adjutant General School and Chief of the Corps. She provided the critical oversight needed while the Army implemented personnel services delivery redesign. She afforded counsel and mentoring for many officers, warrant officers, enlisted soldiers, G1AGs, and commanders at numerous sites participating in the transformation of personnel elements. While serving as the Chief of Staff, United States Army Recruiting Command and Commander, 3rd Recruiting Brigade, her contributions were immeasurable as the Army struggled to recruit while taking on the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. She brought her mastery of the operational issues confronting every level of the command to the Herculean task of guiding one of the Army's most complex and dynamic organizations. Please welcome Colonel Wanda Wilson into the Hall of Fame class of 2021. The next member of the class is Chief Warrant Officer 5, retired, Dr. John L. Harrison, Sr. Chief Harrison served the AG Corps for 33 years in a multitude of important duties. Notable among them were assignments as a proponent for AR 611-112, Manual of Warrant Officer MOSs, TAC Officer at the Warrant Officer Candidate School, and Warrant Officer Leadership Policy Officer, Office of the Deputy Chief of Staff for Personnel. Chief Harrison served 6 years as Special Assistant and Administrative Officer to multiple U.S. Army 4-star generals. These leaders served as the Commander-in-Chief, UN Forces Command Korea, Commander-in-Chief, U.S. Army Europe and 7th Army, Germany, Commander UN Peace Stabilization Forces, Bosnia, and the Vice Chief of Staff, United States Army. In doing so, he helped pave the way for future AG warrant officers to serve in similar roles. Chief Harrison was Military Secretary, Office of the Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff from January 99 to July 2000. He retired from the U.S. Army on April 30th, 2001, and later served as Professor of Civilian Leader Development, Army Management Staff College, Fort Belvoir, Virginia, for 8 years. His 41 years of U.S. Army service epitomizes the AG motto, defend and serve. Please welcome Chief Warrant Officer 5, Dr. Harrison, into the Hall of Fame class of 2021.
Turn and face. I'm not quite sure where to put it. I know several people that have suggestions. I'm sure. I'll feel better. Who are we looking at?
I don't know. There's a bunch over here.
Oh, all right.
Some to our left, some to our right.
Okay. Okay, good. General Brito, it's a pleasure to have you here, sir. Oh, I know everybody feels the very same way. I can take this off, yes? All righty. Well, there are so many wonderful people in this room, as has been pointed out by the other honorees, that I'm not going to try to start acknowledging everybody. What I'd like to just do up front is say that if you feel any way responsible for me having been able to stay in the Army for a number of years, thank you. Know that I love you and I respect you. I will mention a few names, but I don't want to slight anybody as I go about doing this. By mentioning a few names before I start my written comments, and they are written, I want to mention a few names, and I just want to look at them and say thank you so very much for everything you've done for me. General Dean, General Barry Price, Mr. John Nolan, Lieutenant Colonel David R. Berger, Adjutant General Corps, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I've never been General Price and General Dean. Oh, by the way, before I get away from this, I remember I talked about the fact that there are a number of people that probably have a suggestion about where to put this. I want to acknowledge that the recommender for this award is Major General Barry Price. And We worked together for a number of years in the civilian sector under General Dean's leadership, and he was just bound, determined to make this happen, and he'd come and tell me that it was going to happen, and I'd just tell him, well, sir, I love you, but, you know, if it don't, it's okay. So thank you very, very much for what you did for me. All right, my name is John Harrison, and as somebody just said, I think it was Tony, I am a soldier for life. And it is a privilege for me to be with each of you this morning, and a profound honor to accept on behalf of myself and hundreds of leaders in my life this U.S. Army Adjutant General Corps Hall of Fame membership. I know that it's induction. I don't like the word induction, so I'm going with membership. My sincere appreciation goes out to all board members and staff for their gifts of time, effort, and as I've already said, in my case, good humor. It's very important. Yesterday, driving here to the Soldier Support Institute, I happened upon the Fort Jackson Museum. And I had some time on my hands, so I decided to stop and look inside. I could tell by the people that were coming and going, and most importantly, the young soldiers with them, that something special was going on inside, besides the items or soldier stories that were on display there. Towards the end of the tour, a poster appeared on the wall that read in part, "Those trained at the Adjutant General School are responsible for the overall welfare and well-being of each soldier." And I said to myself, well, that is quite a mission statement, isn't it, sir? And for myself, beginning in October 1968, and I use that date because that's when I graduated as a 70 Alpha 10, a basic clerk, having proved my proficiency in the art by typing up menus in a dining facility. That's when my AG career started. But all those things about the importance of taking care of soldiers, to me, is representative. And I found, as my career progressed, in all the leaders that I had a chance to serve with and serve for, whether they were military, civilian, or what I call special people from everywhere and anywhere who chose to help me help others over the last 54 years of my life. It's hard to believe. It is those people and the precious gifts of leadership, encouragement, and forgiveness that they bestowed upon me that brings me to be present here this morning and to spend some time with all of you who have served our country so well. Well, let me start that. That was a poor start. I'm sure many of you have read a book or seen the movie called We Were Soldiers Once and Young. Very touching, very, very touching. And so remember I talked about seeing the museum, seeing these young men and women yesterday that were so proud to tell their families, explain it to them. So I've chosen to talk about people that who actually made my life turn out a lot different than it probably would have if they had not invested in me just before I joined the service and then for the first few years. So again, a few people out of hundreds of heroes in my life who did their best to help me. I was going to describe myself as a wayward young man who needed direction and purpose, and in fact, I was a wayward young man who needed help. In the early 1960s, I grew up in Southern California, two angels of mercy. Sister Lula Asper, who ran a church on her own. She was the pastor, she was the custodian, and in my case, she was the person that would come and pick me up, drive miles out of her way to get me to go to church and to try to instill in me some quality values. And then I was blessed by a beautiful lady named Mrs. Johanna Smith, who did the same thing for me. and in doing so, help me believe in myself and the goodness and decency of others. Please forgive me. I'm trying not to lose my composure. Sister Lula and Joanna deserve to be in a Hall of Fame, and I honor them this morning. Flash forward to Fort Ord, California, August 1968, D Company, 5th Training Battalion, 1st Training Brigade. Drill Sergeant, Staff Sergeant Collins. I literally have a picture of Drill Sergeant Collins at my house. That sounds a little strange, I suppose, but thank God he doesn't know that, so we're in good shape. But anyway, Drill Sergeant Collins, in my mind, was King Solomon in starched fatigues. And the memories that I have of this man's demeanor, his dedication, and his soldier spirit still inspires me. His manner of being, the way he was, and the way he treated the trainees, as compared to, I'll be honest with you, some of the other drill sergeants, greatly influenced me and my approach to being a TAC officer when I served at the U.S. Army Warrant Officer Candidate School in the early 1980s. He, too, is with us today and deserves recognition. Sergeant First Class Bobby J. Smith, U.S. Army Infantry, was my first NCO supervisor, and he was like a father to me. In 1969, stationed in Germany, barracks life was very interesting. I'm sure you can appreciate that. And Sergeant Smith, Dad, would take me home on weekends to get me out of the way of troubles. And his work ethic was second to none. What a great man and teacher he was. He was tough and yet a man with a heart of gold. Another Army leader that deserves to be in some special place of remembrance. Upon my return from Vietnam in 1970, the U.S. Army, this is a hard thing to handle, sent me to the Presidio of San Francisco for duty. I have been very fortunate. Let's just leave it there. My supervisor there was a Chief Warrant Officer for R.B. Barron, United States Army Warrant Officer Corps, an expert, and I wish to emphasize expert, in everything there was to know or to be learned about the Adjutant General Corps. Not unlike Sergeant Smith, he was no nonsense. He was precise in uniform, his bearing, and direction. When I would see Mr. Barron walking down the street, you knew who it was before he got anywhere close to where you could see just about anything else. But he was a master at his craft. And Mr. Barron impressed upon me the importance of attention to detail, pride in ownership, and responsibility. In May 1968, the United States Army, in its infinite wisdom, smiled down on me, and to the great amazement of myself and puzzlement in the minds of many other people, appointed me as a Warrant Officer 1 Unit Personnel Technician in the Army of the United States. And I'm sure, as all of you do, I remember that day. Not only the day we found out, lots of stories, no time, but also just the feeling that I had and the opportunities it opened up. The next 22 years of Warrant Officer service from May 1978 to April 2001 was exciting, exhilarating, and rewarding. It was a joy to serve and be a soldier, a leader, and a witness to history. I did my best, ladies and gentlemen, I promise you I did, because the folks I've mentioned and hundreds of others in my life did theirs. And I benefited from their individual life examples. Special thanks to the Warrant Officer leadership here at the school. Yesterday, they provided me an opportunity to visit with students who are about to graduate from the Warrant Officer Basic course. Thank you, sir, for that. It was good for my soul, and I greatly enjoyed it. I shared with these officers the story about the mission statement that I told you about a minute ago that I saw on the wall at the museum, and tried to reflect somehow meaningfully on the importance of responsibility. General Brittle, you'll be very proud of these officers. They're sharp. Men and women, National Guard, and active component. I was very impressed. So I think the warrant officer community is going to be in great hands. So after I got done chatting, then entertaining an old soldier's comments, they in unison said, "Sir, we're ready." And I believed them, and that makes me very proud indeed. In closing, let me again thank each of you for your presence here today. Congratulate my fellow inductees. Thank everybody in this room for love of country, love of the United States Army, and doing everything you can to make the lives of anybody you know a better place. I accept this recognition, and I hope you don't mind if by doing so, that I do in fact say that basically, there are an awful lot of people that should be here and standing on the stage. So, God bless the United States Army, God bless our country, and as the saying goes, defend and serve. Thank you.
The next member of the class of 2021 is Chief Warrant Officer 4, retired, Eugene Roberts. Chief Roberts concluded his 24-year military career as a senior AG warrant officer at the U.S. Army Materiel Command, where he expertly coordinated HR systems, re-engineered business processes, and ensured first-class personnel support across the command. He was instrumental in orchestrating the smooth transition of HR services during the Army's Personnel Services Delivery redesign. His expertise was showcased when he established the Installation Level Training Assistance Workshop for all units on Fort Huachuca. Chief Roberts has tirelessly served the AG Corps Regimental Association in the greater Huntsville and Redstone Arsenal communities, organizing tens of thousands of hours in local community volunteer service and fundraising for a myriad of local organizations. Please welcome Chief Warrant Officer 4, retired, Roberts, into the Hall of Fame class of 2021.
Get this one recorded, right?
And now to your left.
Then we'll turn.
Okay, let me let you know now you made a mistake. You let me go last. I can do what I want, say what I want, act like I want. But no, it's truly a blessing to stand up here before you, looking across this room at a bunch of great AG professionals, great AG leaders. I am truly blessed by your leadership. Some of it was a little bit rough, because I know how it was I was a younger AG soldier. Hard, charging, thought I knew everything, but I realized I knew nothing. Let me first start saying thanks to the great architect of the universe for allowing me to be standing up here today. Life has been challenging, but it's also been a blessing. Thanks to my grandmother that passed away some a couple of years ago at 104. To the day that she left here, she was still guiding me, providing guidance, and still putting boot to asset. I am truly thankful and humbled by standing up here. I am truly blessed. I look across the room at some of, it makes me really feel old, because I see some of my old soldiers that were babies when I was a wobbly one. They're walking around with 4 dots, and I'm sure to see CW5 on them soon. It's great. To me, that is the accomplishment. It's hard for me standing up here because I'm still in disbelief about how I'm on this stage. You're recognizing me for something that I'm supposed to do as a soldier, as a leader. Giving back, providing support. At the end of the day, when a soldier or a civilian walks out of my office and they're smiling and they say thank you, to me, that's the reward. But I'm not going to turn it down. Thank you very much for this selection. The best side of me, the reason I am actually here, my backbone, for those that don't know, the best side of me is Chief Warrant Officer 4 retired Sharon Roberts, my AG God that has provided. The late nights, the last minute missions, or getting that phone call saying, hey, we need you back in the office at 3 o'clock in the morning for a casualty notification. She's been there. She understands. And to be another AG officer, the AG Corps got a twofer. Every mission, every assignment, every task. Who was leading the charge? My wife. Telling me, hey, you know, we need to do this, we need to do that. And of course, she proved everything and anything that I do to ensure that I try to stay on track, because my speech was written and rewritten and suggested I do this, suggested I do that. Of course, anybody that knows me knows that, yeah, it's just a piece of paper. I'm not going to really follow it. But for me to be standing up here amongst some of these great Americans, these great AG officers, means a lot. To be in the same breath as the Nick Manjes, the Rados, it is truly an honor that I would cherish for a lifetime. And let me apologize now, because I'm not going to go through this entire list of people that I want to thank, because we would be up here for the 57 minutes that you took my joke. Appreciate it. But I will recognize quite a few of individuals that have made a significant impact in my life, that some people never know their names. Susan Carabinis. I was fortunate enough to work for her twice. When I first became AG, and I get to that story how I became AG, because I never started off thinking I was going to be sitting in the office doing paperwork. I didn't think that was what a true soldier was supposed to do, because I was raised by a father that served in the 82nd, served in the Special Forces, in the trenches. That's where I thought I was supposed to be. But I'm glad I didn't end up that way. Colonel Carabinis has always reached out regardless of where I am. She's not physically here today, but she has reached out and touched me in many ways. A true leader, and truly knew her craft. From Fort Bragg to Germany, where she's actually in Germany right now, she has always provided that strong guidance and example of what a leader is supposed to do. So I thank her very much. Stephen Christensen, Charlie Harden, Shanita Henderson, Miss Mary Gathers, the late great John Gathers, of course the legend, Mr. Nick Manje. Truly why I'm up here. But of course I know the real positive side of that is, of course, Diane. She tells him what to do and what not to do. So I thank you. I would be remiss if I didn't thank the greatest AGCRA chapter in the association, the Rocket City chapter. 4 years running, going for a 5th, being the best small chapter of the association. We're not slowing down. Everybody else needs to pick it up. Okay. Going also with Colonel Teola said, for those that aren't members, we can get you a membership application immediately following this event. You can go ahead and sign up, not a problem. Chief Hilliard has the app. go ahead and get signed up. So we want to make sure we grow this, because we can't do it without your support. So thank you for the neck and the leadership. Thank you very much. I know it's very difficult. Not to say that we make mistakes in our life, but not sure how I got up here, but I appreciate you. I don't know what the quota was for, but hey, I'm gonna take that quota. But at the same time, it was difficult for me to become an AG soldier. I started off as a parachute rigger. You know, high speed Fort Bragg, where you ran every day, you didn't get hurt. You got hurt, you were recycled. That's what happened to me. When the Department of the Army came back and said you're being reclassed, involuntarily reclassed to AG, I went kicking and screaming. That was the worst thing the military could have done for me. I was saying my career is over. Did I know? Did I not know that was the hardest job in the United States military? It was a thankless job, because everything starts and ends with the one. Everything that you did impacted someone's life. The struggles that I had becoming AG opened my eyes to be the person I am today. From the very first casualty notification that I had to do, to the SGLIs, Uniform 93s, going on the battlefield, knowing that anything I touched for an individual was an impacting statement for them and their families. So yes, I went kicking and screaming, but did I not know then? It was the best decision for me. God laid the hands on some AG guy to make sure I was taken care of. Because if I would have stayed doing something else, I would not have retired from the military. I would not be standing here today. So I thank those. You know, Rob Mannings, Coral Jones, Armstead, Reuben Jones, Stephen Chappelle, Gerald Sims, Charlie Green, all those individuals have put boot to asset sometime in my career to make me a better soldier, a better leader, a better civilian, and a better person. But I'm gonna take this platform that I have, since y'all can't turn the mic out on me, to really let you know that when we took the uniform off, we didn't stop becoming leaders. Today, 22 soldiers, 22 individuals have lost their lives to suicide. Why? Maybe because somebody didn't pick up the telephone. Somebody didn't make a phone call. Somebody didn't check on a battle buddy. It doesn't stop when we take off the uniform. I almost became one of those statistics in 2016 when I tried to take my life. It's very difficult for me to stand up here now saying it, but because before I never knew I had a problem. Don't know why it happened. Not sure why it happened, but it did. I am blessed that the Lord said it was not my time. I had something to do. I had something to prove. I had a family that loved me. I challenge you today, every day. Pick up the telephone, text somebody, email somebody, just to say, I'm thinking about you, you're loved. Anytime you need me, I am here. AG Strong, defend and serve.
Final member of the class of 2021 is Sergeant Major retired Gabrielle Russell. Unfortunately, Sergeant Major Russell was not able to join us in person today, but we recognize her significant and long-lasting accomplishments and her diligent service to our Army for 33 years in a diverse range of assignments, including the EPMD Sergeant Major, where she was instrumental in the Army's efforts to transform the Sergeant's Major, Command Sergeant's Major branch. She worked tirelessly with the Army G1 to design and develop policies intended to specifically transform the Sergeant Major management system to support an Army at war, as well as other future Army initiatives. She helped establish suitability screening standard for Sergeants Major consistent to those applied to CSMs to reinforce the professionalism of the NCO Corps. And she also established new position coding for immaterial occupational specialty positions. Please welcome Sergeant Major Russell into the Hall of Fame class of 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in another round of applause for the entire class and members of the Adjutant General Corps Hall of Fame class of 2021. Please stand for the playing of the Army Song. This concludes our ceremony today. Please feel free to move about the auditorium to take photos, and you're also invited to view the Hall of Honor located upstairs in the Adjutant General School. We do ask that the inductees remain behind for a few minutes. We'd like to get a group photo of you all on stage. Thank you for attending today's ceremony.